people or read people talk about ratings for a show, or in this case, a segment, which is even more asinine. And somehow a ratings for a segment reflects the quality of that segment, or the ratings for a particular show reflects the quality of a show. Those same people who have no understanding, who've never done it, who don't really understand the business of the television business, are happy to report that stuff because you can go to zaptoit.com and get ratings information all day long. You don't have to be a wrestling expert to do that. It's available. You can go find it. But what you really need to do is kind of compare year to date. For example, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, but and I'm not going to beat up on any more dirt sheets on this episode. I've done that enough. But there's one in particular that I come across frequently that can't wait to report ratings and use those headlines as sort of clickbait to get people to tune in. But what's more insidious is how they take a particular rating, particularly if it's a negative rating or if it's down 0.2 of a point or 0.3 of a point. If a rating is down 10%, 5% on any given week, it's a fucking rounding error. Nielsen is hardly science. It's more art than science, to be honest. And to take those fluctuations and variations throughout an entire 2-hour episode and use that fluctuation as kind of the basis for your position of what how somebody should be being used, or how the creative is not working right, or how somebody should be getting more of a push or deserves more of a push, all based on an indication that's nothing more than a rounding error, is a joke to me. And I think going back to, looking at one segment of one show and considering a concept as being, void of value just reflects the ignorance of the person that would suggest it. A segment so many things can happen in a segment. There could be a fucking breaking news headline. There could be a power outage in New York City that would dramatically affect a quarter hour. There could be competition on. Something could be happening on another channel that would dramatically impact a quarter hour. Or you could have just poorly timed that quarter hour in your format and miss the most critical, moment of the 15-minute, measurement, that Nielsen utilizes. There's so many variables that you never look at. I never looked at one quarter hour, ever looked at one quarter hour and made an assumption. And anybody that's ever produced television would probably tell you the same thing. You may look at the whole, and you may, I in particular would look at a period of, a 4 or 5 week pattern, and then I would start making assumptions. But to look at one quarter hour on one show and make an assumption is just asinine.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 113 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. It is the day after the 4th of July, Independence Day. Hope you guys enjoyed your fireworks. My eyes were all over the place this morning, coming over here to my dad's house with that after firework effect and all the powder up in the air and the smoke and stuff. But hope you guys enjoyed your 4th of July. My name's Josh Lopez. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at NotoriousJoshi. We record this podcast every single Thursday on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts from. I promise maybe sometime or maybe just the week of SummerSlam we'll make sure to get this freaking show on Google Play. So we'll make sure we'll get that done for you guys. I'm not alone as always. I got my brother from another mother, the one that only Adam dated. What's going on, my man?
Josh, what's up, brother? Listen, man, real quick before we get into the nitty-gritty, I just want to bring something up, man. Like, while we're recording this, man, there's a soccer team stuck in a cave. There's just a soccer team in a cave in Thailand that they're saying it might take them like 4 months to get these kids out.
The only reason why I'm laughing is because I never heard something like that where an actual sport team gets stuck in a cave. Like, obviously this is a serious issue. We hope everybody in that cave is actually fine and stuff, but That's wild, man. I've seen some crazy stuff with sports teams with like airplanes and stuff. Maybe you guys remember the We Are Marshall movie about the Marshall University football team that had that plane crash one time. I remember even there's like fictional stuff like Gridiron Gang. The movie Rock did where he was taking over a police ran football team and stuff. So, I've heard some random stories before, but hopefully everybody in that cave is doing fine.
Yeah, man, and it's crazy too because they're saying that. They got stuck there because it's monsoon season over there. An unexpected storm kind of came through and just sucked them in. They're talking about either trying to drain all the water out of there. They're one of the things they're talking about is teaching these kids how to scuba dive, but that could take months. I mean, they're talking about ways to harness them and try to and immobilize them, harness them so that they don't panic and try to drag them through. This is really, in a way, it's a really frightening scenario. And listen, I'd be shitting my pants. I'm sorry, full disclosure. It would be all over the walls. I'd be in a bubbling, crying mess in the corner, But these kids are troopers, man. I read, unfortunately, it looks like, another storm's coming through and these kids might be in some other danger. And that's really what makes this a very, and why I wanted to bring it up, because I know a lot of people don't pay attention to the news, which you're smart. This is one thing though that I think, not that we can really do anything about it, but it's just one of those where you really start pulling for humanity at this, right? This is where we're hoping for the feel good story is getting these kids out alive and safe, and and so that they could tell the story and Disney can make a movie about it and whatever they want to do with it. But but it's I don't know, man. What would you do if that was you? If that were you and these kids are, I don't even know how old these kids are. 12, 13, 14?
Something around there. I wonder how far trapped they're in the cave. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
You know what? I did see that. I'm trying to find some of that information right now, just to get exact things. But I just said it's a football coach, soccer coach, football. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's to anyone that listens outside of America, I am so sorry. It's a football team. It's not an American football team, but it's a real football team. We say soccer here and we're wrong. But I thought they were 400 feet in or something like that. I thought it was something crazy where it's just they were in there because they were, I don't know, just being kids and exploring, and then all of a sudden this storm came through. Man, I wish I could get a quick thing on here. But they have 20 to 30 different SEAL teams, rescue teams, stuff like that. And United States SEALs are out there. The Thai SEALs are out there. This is just a crazy. It reminds me, and I'm going to show my age, and not one. Maybe one person might remember this that listens to this. But when I was a kid, the big thing was this chick named Baby Jessica that got stuck in a well. And it was for 48 hours, 72 hours, people were just or whatever it was, were just glued to their televisions, oh my God, this little girl's got to get out. And it was it just captivated this country and stuff like that. But it reminds me of that in a lot of ways. But this is, dude, I don't know. I would have probably already had, the way my anxiety is, I would have had so many panic attacks, I would have probably stroked by now. I'm serious. I just couldn't imagine being. I don't do well in confined areas. I'm a very claustrophobic person. I have no idea how these kids are staying sane and in somewhat making a positive out of a very grim situation.
Right.
I think a lot of us could probably take a cue from them and learn something.
Yeah. One thing's for certain, there's going to be a movie made about this. It usually happens like this.
Yeah, I hope it has a happy ending.
Me too.
I really hope this one has a happy ending.
I want to get some of our gratuitous business stuff out of the way. First off, and most importantly, thank you guys, man, female, old, young, wherever our demographic is right now. You guys have been kicking ass and listening and supporting the show over the last month or so. So me and the Clown Prince want to give you guys a shout out for taking some time out of your schedules to listen to our nonsense here every week. We have a lot of fun here. There's a lot of off-the-cuff conversations. I've always treated my podcast over the years as a non-filtered zone. I'm always open to free, open conversations, and we want this to be a device for people to learn about things in life, either from mistakes or experiences that we've been through throughout the process. And yes, this is a wrestling podcast, and we talk more about the positive side about wrestling, but I think it's important to remind everybody at the end of the day that wrestling is the escape, and that there's so much real life stuff going on right now. And even to have like a platform like this to talk about something that we care about passionately for an hour or so is something that I don't take for granted. That I take a lot of pride in recording this show. You know, I've been part of this whatever we call media bubble or wrestling media bubble for the last 5 years. Even though I am part of it, actually, I went to school for this stuff. But this is fun. Like, I don't treat this as a job. You know, I look more from a work side from doing my play-by-play articles over the years. That's work. That's grunt work. That's stuff that I have to focus on. But I have fun with this. This is an escape for me. It's an escape for the conference as well. You know, we have a lot. So the fact that you guys are listening to our stuff, even if it's like 20 people listening to the show, you guys are like the best 20 people out there. You know, we're not here to get gazillion ratings or being Rosenberg or Sam Roberts. No, it's not a dig at those guys, but we're just doing this to have fun and maybe spark some change in this culture. So thank you guys for taking some time out of your schedule to listen to this stuff.
Listen, I'd look at it this way. You work a comedy room for a while that have 25 people in it every week. That's how most people start out. So I mean, and that does listen. And what I appreciate by everyone that's been tuning in lately is it shows that there are still some wrestling fans out there that want to have fun and be positive, more on the positive side and more on the joking side of it rather than the irrelevant the irrelevant debates that are nothing more than clickbait headline grabs to talk about that polarize people, and that's kind of the and that's what most podcasts are, and that's not really helping. And I'm not saying we're helping the industry when we're just being clown shoes for about an hour and a half every week, but at least I feel like we're talking about what they're doing right or what we like versus and we're never really burying people. So I don't know. I just think I appreciate the fact that there are still some like-minded individuals out there that want to appreciate the art of wrestling instead of tearing it down every week. So thank you guys.
Yeah, and we've been doing this particular show for 2.5 years now. Think about that. After Mania next year, it'll be 3. And it's crazy how times went by, but we strive to bring out the best show wherever it is, and I see the numbers, I see the growth of this show. I think there's even more barriers that we can breach down the road and stuff with the potential for this show. But you guys, the support in general means a lot. And, if you guys want to express more of your thoughts on the show, like suggestion-wise, or just let people know about the show, hit us up on iTunes, hit us up on YouTube. Word of mouth is important, and we do the show where we have one person listening to it or 0 people listening to it. So either way, if you are a loyal supporter of the show, hit us up on iTunes, hit us up on YouTube, tell a friend about it on Twitter or Instagram or wherever, and we appreciate your support. I have one last thing I wanted to plug really quick because there are some wrestling events coming up this weekend. We got the G1 special at the Cow Palace this Saturday. I'm covering that show on ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com, so check that out. And in the next couple weeks, I'll be covering the G1 tournament that's going on for New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's a lot of wrestling going on right now. Ring of Honor just had a pay-per-view this past Friday. I mentioned before, Lucha Underground Season 4 is back underway, and we got Extreme Rules, which is actually, 8 days away or something around here in Pittsburgh? Yes.
Depending on when people are listening to us, about 10 days, 9 days away?
Yeah, somewhere
we'll say a week away.
Yeah. We got a pay-per-view coming up in Pittsburgh, coming up a week from this Sunday, so there's a lot of cool stuff in the rest of the world, so that's one of the plugs we want to get out of the way, and shout out to everybody who listens to the podcast each week. We're going to talk about Glow today. We don't have a script for this show, ladies and gentlemen. We're going this off the cuff today. But I am promised we're going to talk about Glow today because me and Ad did watch season 2. this may be spoilers in a way, but we will precaution everybody before we talk about Glow.
There's going to be some spoilers.
Yeah,
because we're going to talk about the season. So wait, hold on. I'm going to break a fourth wall real quick. So here, full disclosure. Maybe I'm not going to say that I share. I'm not. I would never share a Netflix password with anybody. I mean, that's an awful thing to do. But maybe I knew a good brother that needed to see season 2 so that we could talk about it this week. So I needed to talk about this week, not because it's a hot button issue, but because we crammed Glow in. Sam and I crammed it in Friday night into Saturday, and it blew me away. And I want to talk about that, my personal thoughts, things where I think different characters are going, and that's why I was like, Josh, you just have to see this. There you go. We got to get this done, and I'm glad you did, brother, because I'm glad it sounds like you enjoyed the season.
Yeah, it was really good. Do you want to start with this or no?
Brother, it's up to you, man. I figured we talk about Glow. I wanted to do Josh Explains Hour 3 of Raw because I didn't get to see the third hour, so at one point I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
So, and then whatever else you have lined up.
Let's start off hot, shall we? Let's start off with Glow. This precautionary, everybody, if you haven't seen Glow on Netflix, please check it out. Even check out season 1 if you get a chance to watch that.
Definitely go back, yeah.
Go back and follow on with the stories and how it's developed throughout this time. So Glow on Netflix, that's where you want to find these shows. And even if you are like a big fan of Glow and you finished both seasons, they got a documentary about the actual television show Glow from back in the 80s, a documentary about that I saw a couple years ago, which is really, 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 really good. So I'm going to get your thoughts about it, too, because I know you've been excited about Glow, and we talked about this in the past. This is going to be pretty fun. There's been a big movement about women's wrestling, and it's awesome. We talk about it every week from WWE. Ring of Honor has a Women of Honor division now. NXT's having the UK brand. They're going to have a women's champion there as well. There's just a lot of great things going on.
Shimmer, Stardom.
Yeah, Lucha Underground even has women fighting men on the shows. It's great stuff about women's wrestling right now. And Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, is promotion, television show based promotion. It's kind of like Lucha Underground's version of women just having their own promotion. It's a television show. It's not fully professional wrestling. It's just a television show about a wrestling promotion. And Glow taped their shows in LA. By the way, I want to give a shout out to San Sylvia, even though that's a shady ass name. I'm sorry. Anybody with the name San Sylvia, that sounds like a shady name. But Mark Maron is the man. He killed it in both seasons. I love Mark Maron over years. Obviously, I got introduced to Mark Maron thanks to Cole Cabana and CM Punk over the last couple years. And Mark Maron's one of the best comedians out there and a very talented actor in a way, too, not just on the comedy side. Especially for season 2, as we're going to talk about right now. He's growing and showing his sympathetic side with having his daughter in town and, kind of trying to relate more to the wrestlers as he's the director of the show. I want to give a shout out to Mark Maron because he did some really good stuff on this show. But before we get to the whole ringamadoo, anything you wanted to mention about Mark Maron?
Yeah, number one, I think that he would probably. The thing is about the Maron character in Sam Sylvia in this movie is this really isn't that big of a stretch for Maron to play because he has battled with addiction before and battled with different things. So it's almost too good of a role for him because it is almost so natural, and sometimes that can be a scary thing, But he's perfect for the role, and I always make the joke that I'm slowly, as I get older, and I've been saying this for a year, I'm like kind of morphing into Mark Maron. Like I think part of me is like, I when people talk to me, it's like I don't want to get into new things anymore. Like I like the stuff that I'm into, and it's like I just don't know how much time I got left. I don't know. I don't know how much time I got, but but no, I'm a big fan of Maron's work. I've been watching Maron for years and years and years. Maron was on Comedy Central back in the late '90s, early 2000s. He's been around the comedy thing, so I I've gone back farther with Marin, but I think he's if I can't see anybody else playing this character, and in a way there's a couple people that I think are so important to this show, and he's absolutely one of those characters that this show, I don't know if it would be successful without, because it's not, the show isn't oversaturated with him either. That's what I like, you know what I mean? He's kind of in there when he needs to be. He's not, his character can be overbearing, and when he's overbearing, it's meant to be overbearing. I think that, you know, you definitely have to, if you want to get in on Glow, definitely go back and watch Season 1 first and watch Season 2. They're both only 10 episodes, half hour, so you're really only looking at 10 hours of programming, you know. You guys sit at home and watch that on the WWE Network all day long anyway, or with all these other marathons that are out there, you know. So this is absolutely worth it. There's a lot of surprise cameos that I kind of don't want to give away, but I do. I think everybody knows that Kia Stevens, Awesome Kong, she plays, you know, one of the main characters in it. I just think there's a lot of they're not really pulling any punches, you know. I think Season 1 was a really good setup of how Glow came to be. I remember Glow from when I was a kid, man, and I remember it being in certain time slots, and I remember I remember, like, in certain houses I was allowed to watch it, in certain houses I wasn't allowed to watch it because I was very young at that time, you know, and it was a different concept, but. Because I was young, I don't really remember, like, I don't have a photographic memory of, like, exact shows and storylines and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do with that either. But I remember always watching because I just wanted to watch pro wrestling. So to have this, you know, Sam and I talked about it last year on our old podcast, but I thought this was a great. I thought that this was going to be a can't miss, especially with the cast. I mean, Alison Brie is fantastic. Betty Gilpin, I believe is her name, that plays Liberty Bell. She's really good on there. The chick that played Knives Chow and Scott Pilgrim is awesome in it. You know, everybody kind of holds their own, and I don't feel like anybody overshadows anybody else on the show. You know, Kia Stevens, Kong is awesome on there in the character that she plays, the welfare queen. But Season 1 was all about the setup. So Season 2, Josh, is more about, I guess we could say, their season on local television, or, you know, on network television or whatever. So go ahead, Josh. However you want to set it up, we'll take it from there.
You know, there was a lot of things that I noticed from this particular season that kind of correlates to a lot of what we talked about on this show, about the Me Too movement and even, like, the behind-the-scenes television business, about how kind of certain shady people behind the scenes could, like, dictate whether the show's remaining on air and stuff. I mean, we talked about issues with Destination America, with Impact, and all. There's been so many, like, correlations I could take from this show, and even, like, topics we brought up on this particular podcast over the years, or other video shows we've done in the past. That's something I found really interesting. Even with Glow, as well, they're talking about the Me Too movement. There's a lot about insecurity as well. Third part, I thought it was kind of interesting where certain women on the roster were so fixated on sex and stuff. I thought it was kind of funny. Like, I forgot the one girl was like, "Oh, we should have an autograph table," and people come in and get laid that night. There was a lot of sexual references on the show. That's why I'm bringing it up. I'm not trying to be the weird dude guy or whatever. That's not my thing here. You know, like you mentioned before, Alison Brie is awesome. We saw did I get no?
Yolanda was the new character they introduced this season. Yeah,
Yolanda.
She was going to be the new junk chain.
Yeah, we heard the Yolanda voice at SmackDown a couple weeks ago when they did that little backstage thing with Naomi and Lana, and even to see how, like, it seemed smooth for Ruth, the character, playing that just, like, nonchalantly like that. It was cool. Then they had the one episode where they had her twin from Moscow come in, and it's cool. Like, there's one episode in season 2 where it's like, you know, they go. It's like more about embracing the promotion side of the Glow TV show. They did, like, a bunch of skits, a lot of ads and commercials and stuff, and then they were showing Yolanda's twin And I thought that was really cool. There was just a lot of cool, like, behind-the-scenes stuff about the television side of the 80s stuff that I didn't know about. That's what I thought was interesting.
And you know what? Here, okay, I'm going to roll off a couple things you said. So now, listen, guys, I am going to be full disclosure. Here's some spoiler alerts. So mute me, fast forward me if you haven't seen it yet. But I think a couple of things you touched upon, like with the Me Too movement. You know, they're getting a lot of kickback from certain outlets that they didn't handle it properly. And this is basically, long story. Here's how it goes, guys. Glow loses their time slot to a different show, and then they get pushed, I think, like 2 a.m. because basically Allison Brie's character wouldn't sleep with the main money man, the main producer. She just refused to do it. She just felt grimy doing it. And then, you know, she goes back and they end up losing their time slot because of it, because that back then, and I don't necessarily know that it's necessarily changed even in today's climate with the Me Too movement. I mean, there's still going to be, you know, listen, Sam's been told things before about the quote-unquote industry. So, you know, I don't... I listen. There's some things, you know, going on in the news right now. It's not like it's not still, you know, prevalent, but they got a lot of kickback on it because you know, the character Liberty Bell and Allison Brie's character, they kind of, the argument became because Liberty Bell becomes she basically to get this on TV, Liberty Bell demands that she's also an executive producer. So now that she's a producer, she has a lot of pull. It was the only way that she would agree to keep doing the show. She was kind of protecting herself. They were showing a lot of the ugly side of and I don't want to say ugly side, but the sides that we don't understand about not only protecting your own investment, but protecting other people. You know, insurance. You know, that's one thing I'm glad they kind of touched upon this time, you know, like wrestlers and insurances and things like that. But the Me Too moment of Ruth walking out on the producer and not sleeping with him, you know, just to advance the show's progress, got a lot of kickback because of the way that you know, like Mark Maron's character was kind of like, oh, fuck that dude, he's an asshole, you know, but didn't place blame. But Liberty Bell did place blame on her in a weird way. Like she threw shade, like, you know, the one time you don't open your legs, or, you know, the one time you can't, you know, whatever. And a lot of people are saying that's going to hurt the Me Too movement. And it's like, no, it's supposed to show that that was a mindset back then. It's a period piece. It's not supposed to be a period piece that's adapted towards what you want to hear today. They wanted that to feel nasty. It was rough to watch. It was you know, you felt for the characters. You felt for, you could feel you almost could feel the animosity. You could, I don't know, you could almost feel the tension in the room while watching this, and it was so well done. And that's what we were supposed to feel. It's not supposed to be where everybody rallies around her and says, well, you know what, screw the time slot. Unfortunately, when they do finally say screw the time slot, it's because Liberty Bell decides she's going to get into Sam's cocaine, and we all know cocaine's a hell of a drug, and then she ends up snapping Ruth's ankle, which that's what caused them to start doing like the lampoon kind of like, look, it's Ruth's twin sister coming in from Moscow because they stole Liberty Bell's kid, and it was this big whole elaborate thing, but they had to figure out how to work around the injury. And the injury was because somebody went into business for themselves, and they didn't realize it. She didn't know. I mean, she was, you know, but she was also under the influence of narcotics. She was, you know, there's so much that they hit upon from that time frame that you know, people don't want to see, but it's right. Important. You know, we don't like to see stuff that makes us feel uncomfortable, but we need to, so that we're not that guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's the reason why Harvey Weinstein was able to get away with what he did for so long was because it was easy for men to say, don't believe women. I'm sorry. Listen, every man and woman deserves their voice, and they do deserve, you know, everybody deserves to have a fair voice. But when you got 70 accusations against you, I mean, it's a lot. I'm just saying, for anybody, you know, so.
I have a certain biases because I've been a big Allison Brie fan for years. Like, even a lot of her movies and stuff. The girl's very talented, and I'm glad that she's getting more of a mainstream pump for doing something wrestling-wise. I think that just gives her even more brownie points for me, being a big fan of hers over the years.
And
Yeah,
she wants this to run like 6-7 seasons. Her, the chick that plays Liberty Bell, like there's a lot of them. They want to keep this going to where it's, and I mean, from what I read, and not that I've been kind of reading it, they've actually been training when they can to be a little better, be a little more fluid. I mean, they're not going to be wrestlers, but to do as much as they can do. I think that shows a good amount of dedication, and that I like seeing that. That means a lot. That it's not a quick 3-season money grab or a 2-season money grab. Like, they want this to culminate into something. But I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ruth is my favorite character. I just felt like a lot of connection with her. Even though she did have flaws in a way, and it's kind of weird. So in season 1, she slept with Liberty Bell's husband, and they had beef over that. And then this season, we had her refusing to sleep with Tom Grant. Mark Maron's character tries to kiss her at the dance. I think it's the prom run for his daughter.
Yeah, Sam's always had a thing with Ruth. Ruth, rather, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And then finally she falls in love with the camera guy. So, she's very... I really like her character. I think she's a nice person, and how they portrayed her, I thought was really good. She was my favorite character on the show. But even then, she had her flaws too, which I didn't think was a bad thing. I didn't think it was a slide on her. Like you said, there was a nasty side to the part of the business where you had to show that.
I think that's what's making this so. It's making this show work, though. I really do, because you want. Listen, we're all flawed people. Every single one of us is a flawed person. There's not anybody that's infallible, and that's what kills me about the know-it-alls in the world. But she is a broken and flawed person, and that's how she ended up in Glow in the first place. So of course they're going to kind of play into that, and she's going to get the short end of the stick, because in a way she is the nice one, and a lot of times the nice one is the one that gets walked on. I think a storyline that I've been paying attention to that's, I think, going to be captivating in season 3. I just feel like it's going this way. I read a couple articles too. It reaffirmed what I thought. But what do you think, before I get into what I think? What do you think of the Bash character? And Bash is the younger guy, Maron's partner. He's not the big money guy, but it was his idea, his brainchild. He initially started funding it. He wasn't the network money guy, I guess I should say. Yeah. So he's the money, but he wasn't the network money that Ruth had refused to sleep with.
That guy did a lot of twists and turns on that season. I'm just gonna say, for me, I didn't mind Bash's character. I thought the actor who played it did really well. Even though they had the cheesy 80s announcer over the arena during the matches and stuff, that I got a kick out of it. I didn't think it was too bad or whatever, but and then you had in the season finale, you had the whole wedding thing, and what was her name?
Britannica.
Yeah, Britannica. Britannica was about to be deported, and she needed to get married. That was a big conflict of interest and stuff. And then one of the other girls on the roster kind of, I don't know, she seemed a little bit jealous about it because she had interest in Bash as well.
Machu Picchu.
Yep, the trainer of all the ladies.
She wasn't supposed to be the trainer, though.
Yeah.
Remember, she got picked because she was a legacy, and now all of a sudden they're forcing her into training. And she was supposed to go over and win the championship at the end, and doesn't, because I won't spoil that. But now, let me ask you a question about the Bash character, though. I think, and now I'm going to explain myself after this, so this is more of, I guess, a rhetorical question. I apologize. It's kind of messed up to say it that way. But here's, I guess, where I think that they're going with Bash. From what I've seen, I had a hunch. I kept shoving my idea down Sam's throat, and she was like, just shut up already with that. I'm not buying it. And then I did some research, and I think I got the I told you so kind of on this one. I think Bash is using Britannica just as much as she's using him, because Britannica, who was about to marry a fan just to stay, who, by the way, did you notice who the fan was?
Yes.
You're killing me, Smalls. It was fucking, you're killing me, Smalls. But so instead of marrying a fan, she ends up marrying the producer of the show. I think he needs her to protect him. Mm-hmm. And here's what I mean by that. The Bash's character was very ambiguous in season 1. You really didn't know where he stood with a lot of things. You just knew that he came from money. He was kind of forced to be in a conservative kind of mindset, and he was struggling a lot with himself in a lot of different ways. And you could tell it was maybe he resented himself, and you really couldn't tell why. Was it the money? Was it where he came from? Was it that he couldn't get his parents' affection? Was it, he's one of my favorite characters because I feel like his character is one of the most complex, and especially where they're going with it. But there was a moment in season 1 where almost a moment of clarity when they went to put on the first show, and he put a little bit of makeup on his face, and it was like, holy shit, I got it now. Like this dude's, he's gay. He's playing a gay character. But they didn't really touch upon it. They didn't do anything that way. Now this season, because the whole thing was he had a butler, his butler Florian, and I just thought that was code for boyfriend. I thought they were insinuating that, Now in this season, Florian leaves him as his butler, so he's not there as his butler, and Bash goes to look for him. He ends up going to a gay bar, and you could tell that he was somewhat uncomfortable, but I don't want to say curious, just uncomfortable that he was uncomfortable. There's a lot, I guess. So where I'm going with this is that and Bash's sexuality is absolutely being hidden, and they're throwing curveballs at us for a reason. And I do think that it's going to be where they were going with Florian. Florian died of AIDS related illness. He had pneumonia, and you're left to believe that he was also HIV positive. So now, and Bash is trying to get his house bleached, and I think Bash is struggling to figure out what he is. I don't think that he likes that he comes from money. I think he resents himself, that he looks at himself as a spoiled child. I think that he's not sure how to handle his own sexuality, especially coming from a conservative family. I think his character has the chance to be one of those breakout characters, like especially once, and that's why I'm glad. Like season 3, they said they're probably going to dip into this a little bit more, and actually exactly what you said too, how Machu Picchu's character plays into that, because she was. It's almost like if he was going to pick somebody just as a cover, why wouldn't it be her? Because it doesn't seem like it almost like she looks up to him more. I almost think she plays almost more of an asexual character, where she looks at Bash more as a brother. It's a more of a fraternal relationship versus anything sexual. And I think that and that's what I mean. Just even the relationship between the welfare queen and her son, and her son coming to see her, come back from college to see her, and all that kind of stuff. Because I believe he was at Harvard, right? That's where his character was going.
Stanford.
That's right. So. There's so many complexities to every single character. I like that Sheila the She-Wolf was finally starting to come into her own and embracing the fandom and the weird, bizarre. Because we could be weirdos as fans, right? And it's nice to see that she was kind of starting to get used to it and embrace. And I don't know, I liked a lot of what they showed. And unfortunately, at the end, the show gets shut down because the Ruth wouldn't sleep with the network executive. But they're going to go to Vegas for it because Horatio Sands knows some people out there, and they're going to do a Vegas show, and that's how they kind of take Glow on the road, because the characters can't be shown on television anymore. The network owns the rights, but they can do a live studio like Vegas show, So all in all, I thought it was. And I know that there was a lot of references that I got that maybe a lot of people didn't get. So because they made so many random 1980s references, it was unreal. Some, though, I did notice that some didn't match up with timelines, though. They were just throwing 80s references in. Some of them happened, after, when this was supposed to be going on, 1985 or whatever. It was, definitely, late 80s, but we're going to let them slide on that. Because overall, I just think with a lot of what they touched upon between just different... and they had two lesbian characters on this season, too. Find out that, what her name, Lebanon? Beirut. I'm sorry, Beirut. Beirut ends up figuring out that she's a lesbian because of Yolanda, the new, who was supposed to play Jump Chain. So, I don't know. I thought there was a lot of, it wasn't just about wrestling and how they're building a show. We finally got to see outside. The character development got a lot deeper for me, and I want it to be more about, it's great that it's a show that's based around wrestling, But now I'm starting to fall in love with the characters, and I want to see what happens with all of these characters outside of when they're taping these shows. So, and how are they going to handle Vegas? How are some of these characters that couldn't even really handle the lights of that small little studio show once they go into a Vegas type of show? Like, how are they going to handle that spotlight? So, I'm really looking forward to it, man. I mean, they haven't officially, quote unquote, announced a season 3, but I think that's, from what it looks like, it's almost a given, and it's almost a long-term deal given too. So,
one character I wanted to bring up from a wrestling perspective that I thought was really good was Cherry Bing, because she came from a stunt background, and she's in the season, and I mentioned earlier about insecurity, right? And she's the one that dealt with it a lot, the most out of anybody in the roster, where she's like down on herself, not trusting her instincts and stuff, and her husband trying to pick up her spirits and stuff. And
she tried to go back to Glow. They recast her with another chick.
Her husband's the referee.
That's cool. I like him.
Cherry Bing was one of my favorite characters on the show. Yolanda's trip, I mentioned, we talked about that the other day in our little group chat thing we have. So I really enjoyed this season a lot for a lot of reasons. It's very entertaining. There's a lot of references, like you mentioned about the 80s. I guess the only reason why the Bears won the Super Bowl in 1985 is because of nerds. I figured it out. 1985 Candy of the Year.
Dude, I like the references that they make were solid. I loved seeing the old Dorito bags, like the real ugly graphics on the Doritos bags, not this new. Although I kind of like that. There was some sort of charm to that versus the new one where it's like Doritos. Our bag looks like a bunch of lasers hit it. It's like, dude, I just want a fucking nacho chip, man. I don't need it. I don't want this thing to attack, transform and attack me. It doesn't have to be all neon. I don't see in black light,
I got a couple questions I want to ask before we move into this week in wrestling. In regards to Glow, because you were around when Glow was an actual television show and they were actually doing this whole thing.
I was a young buck at the time, yes, sir.
Yeah. How do you feel, even with 2 seasons that's passed by for this revamp of Glow? How accurate do you feel it is to what the original show was?
Man, you know what? I was very young, and I remember glimpses of it, because of when it was on, and like I said, I couldn't watch it all the time because only certain households would let me watch it, and it's just because it was mid-1980s, and that's what it was. But and when I say young, I was 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, something like that. So, but you know what? The one thing I do remember is, they're doing a really good job, I feel like, with the portrayal of how somewhat over the top the characters were. And when I mean somehow, I mean extremely over the top, Yes. Dude, I think they're doing a really, really good job. Better than I ever could have imagined, last year I was all pumped, when they said they were coming out with it, but I was worried, my fingers were crossed that it was going to be, and it just, the season blew me away, and I thought, okay, how are they going to top this one? And for me, they topped it. And I think there's a lot of authenticity with this, and I don't, and it's because that's what Little Egypt was who was an original Glow girl, was watching, or was hanging out with a couple of the Glow cast members, and so it looks like a lot of the Glow girls from the past are kind of, they're connecting with the actresses that are in today's Glow girls that are working the show. I like seeing that, because that tells me maybe they're trying to get a little bit of input. Maybe they are trying to make it as authentic as possible whilst, trying to, tell their own story or tell their own. I think they're doing a really good job. I do. I think anybody that was associated with Glow probably is very proud of what's going on. And I don't know. And ironically, Jackie Stallone was a big factor in the original Glow. So there you go. Random trivia for all you young bucks out there that from Old Man Adam.
Another thing people may not know, Ivory used to be part of Glow back then.
Yes, sir.
Ivory, who just went into the Hall of Fame this year, actually.
Yep.
Down in the Big Easy.
Let me ask you a question, brother. Do you think, and this is, here we go, let's not necessarily say shoot, but I'll ask the tough question. We get blamed for not asking enough tough questions. I'll ask a tough question. Do you think Ivory got in this year? I mean, she belongs in the Hall of Fame, so nobody, take that. Don't take my words and twist them. But do you think the success of Glow last year and that helping fans to remember what Glow was and going back and watching old documentaries and kind of, because wrestling is so big right now and because the women's movement is so big, the women's revolution and evolution and everything, did she, I don't want to say get in because of it, but did that help her get in a little bit?
Yeah, I do. Because especially with the Hall of Fame, there's been kind of a thread with how the women's evolution is portrayed from a television show, but it's also shown in the Hall of Fame as well. Because you have someone like Medusa, who was revolutionary in 2015. You had Beth Phoenix. She was in 17, right? Yes.
I think so.
Yes. Yeah, it's 2015 Medusa. 2016 Jacqueline was a big part of the Attitude Era. 17 was Beth Phoenix. And then this year was Ivory. So there is a big part of that. Yeah, I totally believe that.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, I'm glad it's good to see because Ivory, I always thought was very underappreciated. She was always so animated and knew how to work a crowd so well, and she knew how to get under your skin. She was good. She was really, really good, man.
Yeah. Before we move on, what's one thing maybe you like to change on the show, if there's any, when it comes to season 3?
With Glow?
Yeah.
Like I said, I think now it's time, and I do think it's an issue that they do want to tackle because the AIDS epidemic was such a rough. Unless you lived through it and had and saw a lot of the propaganda and the vitriol and the reality of what it was and Ryan White and Magic Johnson and it was like the classes we would have to take even at a very young age in school about AIDS awareness and watch out for people's blood. It was weird, man. It was a weird time where everybody was so paranoid and panicky and blaming certain demographics, and it was just as ugly as what we were seeing with the Me Too movement. And so I do think that there's nothing I would change about the show at all. I think they're doing such a fantastic job. I think the cameos that they have coming in from the wrestling world that's part of the charm of this show. And I do like the fact that not screw it. If you saw season 1, I love that Carlito was in it again. Machu Picchu's cousin or brother or whatever. And he's pissed that she was using one of his moves. And because that's something that, you're stealing my move, don't steal this, so little things like that. But getting back to what I would like to see, I absolutely wouldn't change anything. What I'd like to see going forward is I want to see Bash's character develop more and figure out and see what's going on with that, because it could be something to where Bash might end up being, depending on how they want to go with it. It could be he could end up being one of those tragic characters. I want to see how. I'm more looking forward to how the characters develop more, I guess, than changing anything. I like that. I like the progression of it so far. I don't know if I would have changed anything at all. I really don't. I think they handled everything the right way. I know people didn't like the fact that that they felt like it was woman shaming when Ruth wouldn't sleep with that man, and Liberty Bell just basically lambasted her for not sleeping with him. Well, that was a sign of the times, man. So it was an ugly time. It's just history is ugly. That's why we have to learn it. So otherwise we're doomed to repeat it. So no, I wouldn't change anything. In fact, they have such a platform right now, Josh, and they're hitting such a wide audience. It's not just a wrestling fan. They're hitting such a wide audience with this. I think they really have an opportunity not only to keep giving wrestling and wrestling fans and the art of professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, it's really shedding a really good light on it. In a roundabout way, it is. It is helping show that, listen, these are real people. This is a business. This is real stuff that happens. It's, But I think that they can tackle those tough 80s issues that you know. So I do. I love the balance that the show carries, man. So I know that sounds like me being a total shill and a fanboy for it, but it's because I am. So yeah, I wouldn't change. Like I said, there's just some things I want to see. I'm very interested in the character development. That's all.
Brother, like we say all the time, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it, man. It's what it is.
That's it, man. That's it. Like there really isn't anything. And again, I'm not trying to say rose-colored glasses, but it's just I just kick back, and I think it being a half an hour really helps because they're able to tell these short half-hour stories, and you breeze through them very quickly, and I do think that helps.
Yeah, despite the beef with Ruth and Liberty Bell, love me some Betty Gilpin. She's really good.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Also, let me say this as we close up our Glow conversation. Ruth is the best. Ruth is number one. Go check out Glow Season 2, guys. It's really good. I think you guys really enjoy it. And if you haven't seen Season 1, please check that out beforehand so you guys know what's going on throughout the show. It's very entertaining. Even if I wasn't born during that era, I feel like a little connection to something that I didn't get to see, obviously, in the 80s. So it's very, very good. Go check out Glow. On Netflix, motherfuckers. All right. By the way, I still get a crack out of all the Coming to America references we had last week on the show, especially with it being the 30th anniversary of the movie coming out. That movie never gets old.
And I was wrong about the date. I think I said it was the 26th. It got released on June 28th, 1988. So there's my correction for anybody that felt like correcting me out there.
So you wanted to talk about me explaining you what happened in the third hour of Raw as we transition to this week of wrestling for our male-dominated area of wrestling. By the way, since we're on the women's tip, I do want to give a couple shout-outs this week on the shows. Ember Moon and Liv Morgan had a pretty good match on Raw. I want to give those a shot because fortunately Ruby Riott got injured over the weekend, and speedy recovery to Ruby Riott. That really sucks. But as I talked about last week, giving these women the opportunity to have a 2-segment match like that, if you consider that filler, I mean, go ahead, knock your socks off. Anytime I see Ember Moon or Liv Morgan on my television stream, it's not filler to me. So
I thought it was a great showing, too. I thought it was a really great showing by both women.
Yep. And then also we had Bayley and Sasha going to counseling, which brought out the return of Dr. Shelby as well. My guy.
I mean, just not to be called it. I'm sure we're not the only ones to call it, but let's, it's we were pretty steadfast that it was going to happen. I
hope he didn't move from Chicago to freaking Sioux Falls, South Dakota, because he was filming those anger management scenes with Kane and Daniel Bryan in Chicago beforehand.
Oh, really?
I hope Dr. Shelby didn't get demoted to South Dakota.
The only thing, and listen, I love Dr. Shelby, and I think he's hysterical. So please don't nobody take this and take it as a talking point. But doesn't Dr. Shelby though look like he's been on tour with a large folk band, like Arcade Fire or something? He looks like he's just jamming with the tambourine. Nobody knows why he's on stage. He's just in the corner. He's like the sixth tambourine in, just jamming because there's 40 people on stage.
Yeah. Rocking out, man. He's probably the roadie for the band, I told you. So, there's threads. I mentioned this a lot over the last couple of shows. There's a lot of things when it comes to weekly television shows that I know since I'm covering these shows indefinitely, and people do have the option and the right to fast forward through something they do not want to watch. But for somebody like me that just covers the full shows as they are throughout the week, there are trends storyline-wise that I do notice. And there's been a lot of threads, whether it's threads through matches, threads through storylines. The thread this week is Roman Reigns reaching the boiling point with Bobby Lashley. That was the thread of this week's show. And it all concluded in the third hour of Raw, which I'm going to explain to you right now. Brother Joseph, can you please explain what happened to you this past Monday before I go into the details of this show?
Yeah, so here's the thing, and I don't know when you're attaching that clip, before the show or after the show, but this ties in with a clip that Josh is attaching to the show. I guess it's the easiest way I could say that. But so here's the issue, and here's why a lot of times that I've been saying this for years too, but you can't always read a rating and go and jump on a rating on any singular week and be like, oh my god, you know. So Monday night, it's been hot as Hades in Pittsburgh, and I mean it's been like the worst it's been in years. And long story short, we lost power for about a good 2 hours on Monday night, and like not to mention that it was like cotton field hot in my fucking house. And before anybody gets upset out there, I paused for dramatic effect there. Before anybody gets affect, I realize I'm a white dude. I'm not. It was by no means was I talking about anything like a slave field or anything like that. I'm a white dude. I only talk about what I can relate to, and that's something like when the main attraction of Burning Man is on, and all you have is hippies and bros and their cotton towels, and they all lay them out on a fucking lawn, and they sit there, and it's hippie sweat and bro juice, and so that's kind of what Pittsburgh has felt like the past fucking week. His hippie juice and or is hippie sweat and bro juice. So now that I hope that I salvaged that, because dude, I've been preparing out all week thinking the motherfuckers are going to hate me for this one, thinking that it's a racial thing, but I fucking totally spun it on all you fucks. But anyway, so long story short, 2 hour power outage kicked off, and basically and it was funny because like I lost the last hour of Raw, and it was I even said to Sam, like, the power was flickering on and off real quick, like right before the 10 o'clock hour. I went, this motherfucker's going to go out for the rest of Raw watch, and I should have just shut my mouth because it was after Raw, and then even more so past that. But yeah, so I didn't get to see the third hour, so we're going to play Josh Lopez explains the third hour of Raw to Adam Daly.
And to circle back what you mentioned before about the clip that I'm going to play, on this podcast, context is very important to me. And I think from a talking standpoint, you need to have things to back up the things you say. I think context and substance are kind of similar in their ways. And I think it's very important. And Eric Bischoff has a saying on his podcast, 83 Weeks, that context is king, especially when you're talking about the television side of the media business. And the clip I'm going to play in the beginning of the show this week is him explaining about some of the inherent things that wrestling media circles go through in trying to spin their narratives on how shows should be based on television ratings. And it's very interesting, especially for those who actually went to school for like broadcast or anything like that. You'll learn a lot from this clip that you're going to hear from the beginning. But let's go into hour 3 of Raw. The thread of this week's show from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, besides the Bayley, Sasha Banks, Thompson stuff, was Roman Reigns reaching his boiling point with Bobby Lashley. So Raw last week ended, of course, we had the whole thing with Seth Rollins and Thompson in the rematch, and then Drew McIntyre came in. So there was a title match. No, there wasn't a title match. There was a match with Roman and Seth against Drew and Dolph earlier in the show. That was going on because Roman and Seth confronted Kurt Angle like, we want to fight tonight. Kurt was like, Roman, you got a match later on with Bobby Lashley. Like, I don't want to compete with Bob.
Right.
And then
I like how he kept calling him Bob.
Yeah.
Bob.
And then Bob comes in. They had a little back and forth in the backstage. I don't know if you saw that before that came out. They had like a little backstage thing. You saw that?
Yeah, I saw the backstage segment, which I liked. Actually, listen, I thought Roman was on point this week. I didn't mind that backstage segment with Roman and Lashley either. I can't call him Bob. It just sounds so weird, man. I just think about the movie What About Bob, and I don't like Bob. Just sounds like fuck. Bobby Lashley would crush me with his pinky, but like. I never would think that Bobby would be like, but like my boy Bobby. I just think when I think my boy Bobby, I think of my boy Bobby. I don't think Bob just doesn't. I don't know. I don't know why I'm going on like a 2-minute tirade about Bob versus Bobby, but it's where I'm at. I guess it's 38 years old in my life. I don't know, but so where I cut off was right after all the entrances. I think I got through a little bit of the tag match. So I saw the backstage segment. I saw Shelby's second segment. I saw everything leading up to that. But my feed cut right after, or like right at the beginning of that tag match.
Right. So Bob and Roman, they took on a revival.
Shut up, Lopez.
for whatever the reason, Revival wants to prove themselves that they're top guys, right? That's their whole gimmick. That's their shit. They're top guys. They don't care if they're fighting for titles or fighting the best guys on the roster. They want to challenge themselves. So, we're in this in-between build towards the gimmick period. You're going to have sometimes where matches repeat themselves on Raw. So, here we go. Revival want one more shot to prove that they're the team. So, they have Roman and Lashley go against the Revival. Roman is in the match 90% of the match. Not even a hot tag. And the whole thing is, Roman's like, he heard it in the backstage show. He's like, I'm going to start the match. I'm going to end the match. I'm going to win the match. So they followed through with that story. There wasn't a hot tag. The only part Lashley came into the ring, he did 2 spine busters. And right as he's about to do the tag, Roman just gives him that dirty look. He's like, and then the Revival attacked him from behind. Ends kind of disqualification. They were just doing a whole ground and pounding in the corner. They got themselves intentionally disqualified. Dash Dawson said on an interview on the YouTube channel, it's like, we didn't need to win. We were out to make a statement. That's why they did the whole DQ finish. Right. And then Bobby Lashley decided he was super pissed. He walked in the backstage area. That's how pissed he was with Roman. Because he wouldn't tag him in, right? Right. That's the whole beef with each other. And Roman raises his fist like, how you leave me hanging like that? And Kurt Angle announced that it's going to be Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley at Extreme Rules. We don't have a gimmick stipulation added on because we got to wait till next week for that. But after all these weeks, and first it was supposed to be a multi-person match. Then it was supposed to be Roman Reigns and Lashley for the right to fight Lesnar. Now we just have Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley one-on-one. Let me just say this, from seeing Bobby Lashley in person at Money in the Bank, that brother got deltoids on top of deltoids.
That dude is stacked. I mean, that dude's stacked on stacked. He got muscle on muscle on muscle. That's what I mean. Like, I come in to, like, listen, I love these men and women, and, like, I want them all to, like, so that when I make jokes, it's more to add, like, comedy on it and, like, humor into the show. I am by no means am ever talking shit about these people, because Bobby Lashley, it would be worse than CM Punk's 2 fights. Oh, sorry. I'm going to go there.
To make sure everybody knows that I'm not talking out my butt side, I'm following through the article I wrote. So make sure I remember that's going to happen in the show. So after that, Kurt Angle has a conversation with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is offering him Shania Twain tickets so he doesn't have to fight Braun Strowman. So he's trying to do everything he can so he can't fight Braun Strowman. So he's like,
oh, shit. I can't believe I missed that.
Hey, you can bring your wife on a hot date. You can bring your kids to Shania Twain concert. I know her. She's a friend of mine. Kurt's like, there's no way in hell that's happening. There's been something going on with Mojo Rawley. I think they're going to put more focus on him throughout the year. He continues to beat up No Way Jose, but you see more and more in the week where he's like changes his demeanor. He's not like so super hyped, even though his entrance music doesn't justify his mood swings. It's kind of weird. Like, he had the weird Jersey Shore like graphics on his entrance, but he's like super like mad now.
I think once they fully, I guess, go through with the repackaging, they'll tweak the music to fit the mood of the character a little better.
They did switch the music this week, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
There was a Ronda Rousey interview. Ronda Rousey will be sitting ringside for Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax's Extreme Rules match. By the way, the women get the Extreme Rules match this year, which is pretty cool. Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss Extreme Rules match at the pay-per-view week from this Sunday.
Well, okay, that makes sense because it's being advertised on commercials here that was going to be that Ronda Rousey was going to be ringside, and I didn't know if that was just more, because they've been good about like misleading with certain things here and there recently.
Right.
And like I said, the only other thing that I saw that I don't know if they just didn't figure something out yet. That's why they kind of put this on there. But the commercials they're advertising locally, I think it said that it was a non-sanctioned match between Bob and Roman Reigns. Or at least there was some sort of like non-sanctioned or unsanctioned fight or blah blah blah. So they might go that angle, which basically just means no rules, right? It's just another way of saying Extreme Rules,
right? Nia Jax beat Mickie James. Kevin Owens had this funny thing with Jinder Mahal where they're finding their tranquility and they're like doing meditation and
shit,
stuff.
I missed like some good shit the last hour. What the hell, man?
Bobby had a backstage interview with Renee Young in her full red regalia this week. She went super red this week. I get it, we're Raw, but her dress is full red. But hey, Canada's greatest export, at least in my opinion, not for Stratus. I'm sorry, guys. And then the main event was Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman. After all, Kevin Owens decided to get himself intentionally counted out. He runs through the backstage area. He hides in a porta potty in the parking lot area of the arena. Braun Strowman, doing his walking shit. It's just funny. I think for me, like the charm of Braun Strowman, I know he's a monster and he's supposed to be treated as a badass, right? But just like the charm of the facial expression he has when he's trying to look for somebody backstage, I remember that a lot when he was doing the feud with Roman, like all the backstage like brawl they have with each other. So Braun goes past the production area, and then you see all the people on there. And then he runs it. He stops before he re-enters the arena, and everybody's like, the crowd chant, porta potty, which doesn't help. I don't know if Strowman can hear the crowd all the way from out of the arena, but
that's hysterical.
So he stops. He turns around. He knocks, and he does like. You remember Tommy Boy, where Dave Spade was like,
"Never saw Tommy Boy."
House cleaning. You want me some pillow?
Oh yeah, that joke's forever long. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then so for anybody that didn't see Tommy Boy back then, Chris Farley's trying to sleep in a motel. And Dave State's busting his shots. They're like, house cleaning, and Chris Farley, shut up. That's the whole thing. So Braun Strowman does like a high pitched voice knocking on the porta potty door, and Kevin was like, get out of here, get out of here, and then he got caught. Strowman dragged the whole porta potty to the staging area. Strong ass mofo and stuff. This is shoot. They dragged it, and then Braun decides to tackle the porta potty over the stage to close out the show. Kevin Owens came out. He wasn't in poop though. He was in blue, like kind of pink, kind of like I forgot the name of that movie that Malcolm in the Middle was in, and then the one guy got bleached with blue skin. You know what I'm talking about? It was him, Amanda Bynes, and Paul Giamatti. I forgot the name of the movie. People are gonna kill me.
I don't know. Paul Giamatti looks like a little bulldog with legs. He's a weird looking dude.
He is.
Yeah, I have no idea. Whose skin turned? Wait, what? Someone's skin turned blue in a movie. I have no idea.
I'm gonna look this up right now.
Someone from Malcolm in the Middle? Which dude? I never watched Malcolm in the Middle either.
I didn't watch either.
Okay.
Yeah. Just 1 second. Oh, Big Fat Liar. There you go.
Oh yeah, I don't know anything about that.
You didn't see that?
No.
So Big Fat Liar came out in 2002. This full disclosure will make everybody feel old here. I was 8 years old in 2002. Okay, so this to let everybody know. Paul Giamatti is an agent in the movie, and Malcolm, the guy in Malcolm in the Middle, he wrote a book for a screenplay for a movie for a summer school project, which ended up being a movie because Paul Giamatti stole his script and brought it to the movie studios. So Malcolm is trying to get his credits back, right? They do this whole thing, like, you know, the shtick in 2000, like, comedy kids movies where the bad guy goes through all these hoots and stuff, and he falls in a... So Malcolm decides to bleach his pool. Paul Giamatti got this big mansion and stuff. He falls in there, and he's just blue, and he has an orange tip because he was rocking orange hair at the time. And he's full blue, like the Blue Man Inc., the Blue Man Group.
Blue Man Group.
Yeah, the Blue Man Group.
Tight Live, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty funny. So that's what Kevin Owens looked like towards the end of Raw.
So I guess maybe the reason why I didn't get that reference is much like a lot of people listen, I make a lot of references on the show that I know that people don't get, and it's just the age thing. But if it was that makes sense saying it's a kids movie, like it was a kids comedy. Because when it would have come out, I would have probably been a 23-year-old alcoholic at the time. So, yeah, I don't know how many kids comedies I was watching. I think it would be creepier if I did see it at age 23, and not as and without any kids and stuff like that. Like that might have been creepier.
Right.
I remember I was working in a video store for a quick minute, and I do remember there was like Spy Kids, all these other movies come out. They used to put them on a thing. I don't know. I'm glad I didn't have any kids back then.
Yeah.
Not glad I was an alcoholic during those points, though. Let's not stretch that out of the equation.
Right. So I thought Raw was decent for what it was. Most of the matches are set for Extreme Rules. There's 7 title matches. The only one that's not for a title right now is Bob and Roman. So we have 8 matches. And then Finn Balor had this conversation with Baron Corbin. Maybe you saw that during the show.
I think so. Yeah, I did. Wait, excuse me. I need to correct you. You mean you mean Stephanie McMahon's self-assigned, hand-picked constable of Raw, Baron Corbin. Okay,
correct.
Thank you. Hey man, why did just because I listen, I look at foreshadowing and I look at little things that sometimes don't come to fruition, but sometimes they don't mean anything. Sometimes they might, though. What was up with Owens rocking a Corbin hoodie?
They're all in cahoots with each other. They're all part of the Authority.
I just thought it was something, one loves when Stephanie's around, one's been handpicked by Steph. I don't know. Josh, I think that they're working the fans over so hard right now with Lesnar, and they're working people with Lesnar so bad. Yeah. I almost feel like there's going to be. This is just where I think that they could go with this. I almost feel like a stable's going to form to take the title off of Lesnar, and they're going to blame Kurt Angle for basically he's going to be the scapegoat because he was incompetent and he couldn't control Brock. They're not going to blame the contract or anything like that. They're going to figure out a way to. But I almost feel like there is some sort of authoritative stable forming again. And I think it's slowly happening, and the people aren't paying attention to little nuance. I could be totally wrong because I typically am, but I just I don't know.
I wouldn't mind if Alexa Bliss was part of this stable too.
You know what? I would almost rather it be somebody like Bayley. I think Alexa doesn't need it. I think Bayley, if they turn Bayley towards more of like an antagonist, or just somebody that's just over the fans and just wants to kick ass, I almost feel like she would be better suited for it.
Let me say this though, and maybe we talked about this last week. I didn't feel that Bayley turned heel. I think there's a misconception going on right now in some of these podcasts I'm listening to. Bayley did not turn heel. I don't think it's like, oh, she's not selling enough merch or whatever, we got to turn her heel. No, she's just salty right now. She's super salty.
Well, I think they're testing the waters. She definitely didn't turn, but I do think that this is an opportunity where they can litmus test her a little bit to see if they want to run her dark for a while. Because in a way I do think that it is I said it last week. I do think seeing just something different out of Bayley and seeing some character depth and character advancement, not just I'm going to come out with these stupid blow up things and hug everybody. She's too good to fall through the cracks because of that gimmick, and it just was never going to work on the main roster. So. And I'm not saying that she has to be a heel either. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that this is a good way of kind of just testing it out to see, because right now they're both very gray. Sasha and Bayley are both very gray right now, and I think it's really not that. And that's the thing too, is that they're setting Sasha up for bigger and better things later on down the line, and they're setting Bayley up for bigger and better things later on down the line. This feud is going to be a catalyst for something. I feel like it's going to be a paradigm shift for both of these characters, and that's why I love how this is such a slow burning, because I think they are testing the waters out with a lot of different things without really breaking either of their characters down. I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I agree with you. The thing for me, and I'm very happy that Dr. Shelby's back, but counseling's not going to get to the point where Sasha and Bayley are like team hell no. They're going to have a match at SummerSlam. and that they'll go their different ways.
Absolutely.
Like Dr. Shelby's back, but his work's not going to work.
I still think it's a loser leaves Raw. I don't know why. I feel like it's a loser leaves Raw. And again, I'm always wrong, so it doesn't matter. But it's just a hunch.
A hunch. What did you see for SmackDown? Did you get to watch this week?
Yeah, I got to see it. I got to see all SmackDown.
Well, what caught your eye?
What caught my eye? I was trying not to pass out because it was like I felt like I was in a testing ground for how much radiation could be handled at Area 51 because of the heat in Pittsburgh, and we don't have an air conditioner. But dude, it's been a rough week, man. I feel if anybody's seen Hot Shots, I feel like when the dude's deflated at the end, like, and they have to like give him a bunch of liquids and he like blows back up. But I'm trying to think of what really did stick out. I guess the whole Asuka Ellsworth stuff. They're really trying to make Ellsworth like a sleazy, like male chauvinist pig, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they're really laying it on thick with him. In a way, I think it's working though. I just don't know how. Let me ask this: do you think there's longevity in what they're doing with Ellsworth right now?
I think this could be just a little snippet of what Carmella's title reign's going to be. I don't think it's like a long-lasting thing.
Yeah, I don't either. It's
like something to get her past SummerSlam, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. And I think Carmella's doing a hell of a job too. I don't know.
Here on SmackDown this week, she was doing like a lot of promotion stuff in Australia. So they got that big ass network event going down there in October.
Yeah, they do. That's gonna be big for them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what I'm honestly trying. It's been such a crazy week, dude, with trying to like with work and like let's screw it. We break down fourth walls. I mean, everyone knows my poor wife was just in a car accident, so we're trying to, get all that stuff, get her health back up, get a car because this dude totaled our car. Just had to go car shopping this week, try and get, so it's just been a hell of a busy week that my mind's been like in 85, like pulled in 85 different directions. So I definitely watched SmackDown. Talk to me about it. Refresh my memory. I have blackouts real quick, and I just want to tell everyone, like, listen, I talk about like a lot of stuff on here all the time, like especially like mental health, mental wellness, things that I've been through, like stuff with medications and stuff like that. Like, and I want everyone to know, like, last week I listened back to the show for the first time in like a long time. There was a couple different times where like I had mind blanks, and this is why I can't stress to people enough, like, please be cautious when you're taking these pharmaceutical drugs, because I was a guy that used to be able to carry on 3 conversations and text someone on his BlackBerry at the same time. Like, I was sharp, I was good, everything. It was, after that car accident and after I got thrown on that medication and everything got, like, there's times where my mind just goes, like, totally blank. And I feel so bad sometimes, dude, because I'll be just in the middle of a sentence and everything goes away. And it was never like that before that car accident and then after, being on that medication. And that's why I'm so concerned about my wife right now, because she's, I feel like she might have eaten a concussion in this because she's having some loss of memory and things like that. But so guys, I do apologize. I know sometimes that I kind of like stop and then I have to bring something back in. But that's something that I'm trying to work through, and it's getting better, but it still happens from time to time. So I apologize for that. You should see how bad it is when I don't smoke weed. It's fucking insane. I can't remember shit. I can't even talk half the time. I'm too busy fucking trying not to melt down. But so now, where was I before this, Josh? I wanted to just say I apologize to everyone out there. I'm trying to do better with it, but imagine being married to me and just all of a sudden, like mid-conversation, like I just stop and go, I don't even know what I was saying. So, but
we're gonna breeze through SmackDown before we close things out this week. Brian Saxon was doing his best Get Out impression with that.
Thank you. I wanted to make that joke. Damn it. Damn you. Good call. Well played. He was too. I'm glad you thought about that. Yes, he did, yeah. Man. He looked like that dude that the TSA dude was telling everyone about, wearing a Nathan's hot dog hat. I love Saxon. First off, I love Saxon. And he knows that he's going to get the pushback on this stuff. That's why he's the best. That's why he's the best at this kind of stuff. But yeah,
it's like how giddy gets with the New Day stuff, man. he gets really super corporate and stuff. I think that's awesome. So New Day had their inaugural pancake eating contest. Mm-hmm. So last year they decided to have a wrap-off for the 4th of July.
Yeah,
this year,
a
pancake eating contest, which led to Sanity causing all pure chaos. They broke up the pancake extravaganza. I want to give props to Road Dogg, whoever timed out the show this past Tuesday, because right as they start eating the pancakes, that's when the music started playing. Mm-hmm. So props to those guys just to get that little small detail in.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. The pancake thing was funny. I want to know why Alexander Wolf kind of looks like the character in Mask, like Mama Freak. And it's weird. I don't know why, but his face looks like a mask. It's not, and I'm sorry, Alexander Wolf, but you look like Axl Rose does right now. That's a fucking frightening thing.
One of those, it looks like one of those guys from Mad Max.
Yes. He's absolutely a dude that came from Fury Road, for sure.
Yes. Good God.
But, no, I mean, I do. Right, yeah, right. A couple weeks ago, man, we were talking about Sanity, kind of interrupting, I think, what match did we think they were going to interrupt? And then after we got done taping, we were like, oh, no, shit, they'd interrupt probably the New Day, because it makes more sense, three versus three. So I guess we probably knew this was coming eventually. I like how they placed it. They always do a 4th of July kind of gimmicky thing, and New Day is the New Day, they're the kings of taking gimmicky shit and somehow making it work all the time, and kudos to Saxton too, because that's another dude that, I love that there was a Shut Up Saxton shirt. Somebody, did you see that? Somebody made one. So
somebody also made a Pritchard greater than Russo sign, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm Peacemaker. I am enlightened like Jinder Mahal. I'm I don't know. But
let me say this real quick. Dexter is keeps stacking up those wins, man. That girl's on the road. Like butter on the road, Becky on the road.
Oh yeah. Which is good, because I think it shows that either they're finally gonna invest into something with their character. And I don't know, Josh. Let me ask you a question, because this has nothing to do with current booking, or I mean, I guess it does with past booking or whatever. But I think this is something that people might miss, that at least we over obsess about. And I don't mean necessarily you and I, but I think the 10% of the wrestling fans that are stuck inside the Twitter bubble. I think that they're finally, it looks like they're going to go somewhere with Becky, or at least they're going to invest something into a different angle on her character, which I like, and because she's another one that kind of got lost in a shuffle there for a second. But is that necessarily a bad thing?
No. I mean, look at Dolph Ziggler.
Right.
The guy just main evented a Raw a couple weeks ago. Now he's going to have an Iron Man match and Extreme Rules. He's going to have a featured spot on that pay-per-view next Sunday. So,
and Becky's so good for the brand. She's put a lot of people over. She works well with, she's kind of been in and out of, they've utilized her however. She's done everything they needed her to do. And sometimes I feel like it's just a waiting game. She just wasn't in last year's plans, but she was still vital to the company, though. She's another one, Josh, that I was talking about Woods last week. She's another one that, when it comes to PR, she's amazing, incredible, intelligent. I mean, she's one of the ones you want to have out there, like one of the people you want to have out there, representing your brand, representing your company. So, I think. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, think about the potential of her fighting Carmella at SummerSlam this year.
Right.
If you see, the writing on the wall from there.
Yeah, because I don't think it's Asuka's time yet.
No.
I think that gets held off till SummerSlam is going to be Asuka versus Ellsworth.
I want to say this really quick. NXT fans, you need to get yourself on check right now, because okay, so Asuka was undefeated, for 2 years? That was the gimmick she was running.
Right.
So she loses some matches here and there, and she's not the top person right now on SmackDown. Is she really buried? I'm so fucking tired of when you go to the main roster, you're held back than where you were from NXT. You're in a different playing field. I don't want you the same person I saw in NXT. I'm so fucking tired of this argument.
That's like
Andrade Cien almost can't get on SmackDown. Good. I don't want to see him every single week. I think it should be a pleasure to see somebody like Selena Vega or that dude once in a while.
It always is. No, but it's one of those, Josh, where, you know, everybody always. It kind of reminds me of the Punk stuff, you know. Everybody, and listen, and he absolutely failed, and when it comes to you know, not in a certain way, but in a certain way, he did fail when it came to his UFC experiment. But so did Michael Jordan when he went to play baseball, because that was fucking rough to watch. That was like watching like one of your greatest heroes. Like, that's like seeing Superman in a wheelchair. You know, right. It's kind of like, oh man, this isn't you're not where you're supposed to be, you know, and that's you know, that's whatever. But I don't necessarily think that it's just the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing that everybody's always on, that their person is infallible and everybody else's people are infallible.
Right. For me, like. Yeah, you brought up the Michael Jordan example. Like, there's been so many rare athletes out there that are able to have success in different fields. I mean, everybody brings up Bo Jackson, probably one of the most natural athletes ever. I don't know if he'd be a Mount Rushmore or whatever from a success standpoint, but you can't take away what the guy did. You know, I know he had that bad knee injury before he retired and stuff, which was really nasty.
I cried. It was a hip injury against the Cincinnati Bengals in the playoffs. And if we don't lose that game, we don't get blown out in the AFC Championship game against the Buffalo Bills. And I'm still salty about it, but...
you know, and you got Deion Sanders, of course, a guy who had big success there. I mean, even in wrestling circles, to look at a guy like Kurt Angle to actually win an Olympic, I know everybody makes a joke about winning with a broken freaking neck, but even for it to be an actual thing and a shooting gimmick, I think that's awesome. And sometimes you have transitions that don't work out, you know. Punk stuff didn't work out, but I'm not going to begrudge him for it. The guy had a goal, he went on and accomplished it. He never said he was going to be in it to win titles.
No.
If he was like hourly out of the gate saying, being all cocky about it, being like, "Oh, I can win a title here. I can do this," then I would maybe understand some of the vitriol that goes his way. But the guy wanted to accomplish something, and he did.
Jim Brown was like an All-American in 4 different college sports.
Right.
He was a first-team All-American in lacrosse.
Yeah.
Like, there's been some studs, you know what I mean? Like, in the day, like, that have crossed over, you know. And we shouldn't fault those that have failed either, you know. But to your point, Josh, the reason why I brought all this up is WWE wants to make sure that you know that there's a difference between NXT and Raw and SmackDown. I said last year, when Sam and I were still doing our show, that I personally thought Asuka should have lost almost as soon as almost immediately, just to get it out of the way. Because you do kind of book yourself into a corner where you're always trying to, like, they're going to do that with Rousey right now. Like, they're going to protect her streak. So were they going to protect 2 streaks? You can't do that. It becomes predictable. Everybody complains, you know. I personally think you can develop characters get deeper when you lose. How do you overcome, you know, and I'm not just saying getting beat down after a match. You have to lose matches because somebody cheats. You know, how do you react to that? Batman doesn't always just swoop in because somebody's being a dick. Sometimes people go after Batman and he has to defend himself. You know what I mean? It's not like he's always the hero that swoops in. Sometimes Batman gets captured and he's got to figure out a way to get out. You have to look at it from a storytelling standpoint, and when you're trying to write around a streak, you're really kind of handcuffing yourself on the stories that you can tell. So I just think that to Asuka being buried, isn't she on TV every week? Unless she's out of town, and if she's out of town, is she still not helping promote WWE in some fashion? Is her storyline not being talked about every week? So she's getting camera time. Her storyline's getting airtime on a 2-hour show, not a 3-hour show, and some of the most important time spots on the show. How's she getting buried again?
Hey, all NXT people that go to the main roster are held down. In a way, it has to get to a point where it's on the performers. Because for me personally, just the easy scapegoat saying, "Oh, it's booking, it's writing." There's only so much you can control from a writing standpoint at the end of the day. And I'm not talking about going to limb and confronting Vince saying, "Oh, you got to do this and do that." But there has to be an emphasis on the performers to look at themselves in the mirror. Yeah, what you did in NXT did cater to that niche audience. And let me also say this as well. We, in the wrestling bubble, cry and moan about variety and competition. But why is it at the end of the day we want everything to be the same at the same time, though? Like, anytime I see a New Japan show, I always see people go on their soapbox saying, "Oh, why can't WWE be like this? Why would you want WWE to be a New Japan? Why would I want to see somebody from NXT be the same person on Raw or SmackDown? Why would I want NXT to be presented the same way on Raw and SmackDown or booked the same way?" You had those shows to add variety. Everybody's talking about 205 Live this week, and I'm very happy about that. I'm very happy about that because I've been covering that show since the beginning, and I love what those guys do. They bust their ass and they tell their stories in the ring, and they get 45 minutes throughout the week to have fun and just go all hell breaking loose. Everybody's talking about 205 Live this week. You know why? Because it's different and it's on its own merit. Everybody likes NXT because it's its own thing. People like Lucha Underground because it's its own thing. Why is it every fucking time there's a show going on, "Oh, I wish Raw or SmackDown's like this"? Embrace what's different. You want variety. You want something different for the wrestling scene. You're fucking getting it.
Well, and not only that, Josh, I think here's something else and you're absolutely right with everything you just said right there. Everything that you just said right there, because I want to embellish on it by this way, or by in this fashion. When we talk about the greats, and the greats, inside wrestling circles, we typically we do talk about people that understand it at a certain time in their career, and it not because it's the end of their line, but sometimes it's smarter and it helps everyone around them to put people over. Right now, what does it do for Carmella or Asuka to have Asuka go into Money in the Bank, Asuka take the title, and then they go it does absolutely nothing for either character. It really only would have, in my opinion, would have stalled Asuka's development on the main roster and kind of might have devalued Carmella a little bit. Instead, right now, we have a super hot heel, and we have somebody on the chase. We have a hero that's on the chase. And so and I feel like you have more people buying into it now. And not only that, we're getting this Ellsworth-Asuka side story that's probably going to come into something too. So we're seeing a lot of moving parts where it's helping multiple people get over. There's a mindset with internet wrestling fans, and I don't mean to call out internet wrestling fans. I was one before too, and I used to have this mindset. That's why I am speaking about learning from past opinions and realizing that they were some bad opinions of mine. I think, dude, that it's a very selfless thing to help advance somebody else's career and do it in a manner knowing that you're making the division better so that you can compete. And when your name is looked at in the past, you're going to know that not only did you help because you were that important cog that ran with the title and you were the main person for a while, but you helped other people become that main person. There's two people that will always have a job. If you know how to get the crowd to hate you, and I mean absolutely hate you, where it's natural heat, not, it's where it's very organic, natural heat, you will always have a job. And if you know how to put somebody over, you will always have a job. In somewhere in professional wrestling, whether it's WWE, anywhere in the independents, New Japan, Ring of Honor, just anywhere you go. So I think right now, what we've been seeing is, we had that first initial rush of the horsewomen come in, Josh, and everybody's kind of grabbed onto their favorites and kind of stuck to their favorites, but then we had a next generation come up, and now a next generation come up, and now both women's divisions are so full, which is a great thing. I'm not complaining. It's now it's time, okay, we can start setting up like tiers, but you need the people that were there before to get these women that they've just called up, just like with the men. You need your veterans to help teach the younger talent, because NXT and WWE, just to travel alone, separates those shows. Or NXT versus Raw and SmackDown. Just the travel schedule alone totally separates those shows right off the bat. So I think when we look at like Sasha and people upset about Sasha's placement or Becky's placement or whomever, they've been doing nothing, honestly, but helping this division. And they get rewarded for it later on down the line. Becky Lynch, I promise you, is going to have a fantastic title run in the very near future. Sasha Banks, I feel like whether it's before WrestleMania or next year after WrestleMania, I feel like Sasha Banks is going to be finally the boss that she could be on this main roster. You know what I mean? And it's not that she's not doing it. It's just that they don't need her right now, just like they don't need Becky right now. But they're starting to lean back into it, I mean, and look at how many people Jericho put over in his career. Right. It's you have to be selfless in this business to help this business. Otherwise, you're selfish. Otherwise, you're the Brock Lesnar's that you're complaining about, even though people don't realize that you're getting worked by Brock. It's the, it's what's that?
Look at Kane.
Kane is the greatest one to pull out. He's the litmus test of what a company man is and the standard. He's the steady. You should aim to be that guy. Not everybody not everybody, not saying that you don't want the championship and but sometimes it's more rewarding to know that you're helping advance the business versus being the person that throws the title over their shoulder. That's right. Just where I don't know. That's just where I'm at, though. I'm more of a selfless dude, though. I know a lot of egos, though, that would want the title because I think that there's other ways you can help. So I don't know, man. I guess that's where I'm at with like a lot of the they're being buried or they're being buried. I don't think anybody especially Asuka. I do not think she's being buried. I think what she's doing is they're helping getting her a little bit more acquainted to the main roster schedule, and she's helping to get other talent over in the process. It's a win-win. It's the art of any deal. So
to bring it full circle, I just want to know, do we want things to be the same or do we want variety? That's all I'm asking at this point. But
variety, baby. We want variety. Yeah. You would think.
Yeah, I know, right? To wrap up the stuff from SmackDown, AJ Styles beat Aiden English, and Rusev put on the accolade on AJ Styles. Rusev is fighting AJ Styles for the WWE title at Extreme Rules. What else on the program happened? Oh, yeah, the Team Hell No had their little reunion with Renee Young, and then you had the signature Kane, Brian. Yes, no. Yes, no, they go back and forth.
Oh, that's right, dude. The Usos were solid on SmackDown. Thank you, man. I love the Usos Tuesday night. I love them. I thought their bit was great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed their main event. It was a very good match to close out the show this past Tuesday. If the Usos won the match, it would have been a triple threat match at Extreme Rules. I thought it was a very, very good match. And anything else that I missed on SmackDown? Jeff Hardy and Nakamura, they're going to fight each other at Extreme Rules for the U.S. title, which should be pretty interesting. And by the way, I feel bad for Nakamura because he kind of played himself a couple weeks ago when he got bit by that dog.
Man, the freakish accidents that can happen sometimes, huh?
Right.
How bad was it? Was it like
I don't know.
Bad enough to keep him off TV for a couple weeks, I guess, right? Jesus Christ. The one thing I wanted to sprinkle in too, just because I do want to make sure that in 1 week, dude, we're gonna do a list of our top 5 things that we look forward to every week as far as that kind of deal. And maybe we should do it periodically just to see how much it changes, every quarter or something like that. It'd give you a fun little thing to do. But dude, I from what I saw on Monday night, and I didn't get to see again the whole show, but the in-ring thing between Balor and Corbin and how they've carried it over onto social media over the weekend where they had their back and forths, whatever. It's been fun. It's been money. Dude, Corbin's owning this new gimmick. I like this. I think this fits him so much better, dude. He was killing me Monday night. I've in a way, I've been dying to finally buy into this character, and it was just a little tweak. Sometimes that's all it takes is just a little shift in the character, a little bit, I like his smugness works a lot better than, like I keep saying it, rather than being like the physical imposing, like we know he's a tough dude, Xbox or NFL, all that shit, but he's almost better as like this sarcastic like asshole, and it works for him, and it's been really fun to watch him and Balor kind of go back and forth, all week long. So I don't know, and I think that's another good one too, where I think WWE sees that they can work with. It's easy to work fans when you put a quote unquote traveler versus a quote unquote WWE born and bred guy. You know what I mean? Like this, and this is another one of those where they're both right now, I think, at least in their WWE careers, at the hottest points. Listen, Universal Championship aside or whatever, I think right now Balor and Corbin both are at the top of their game. And I think this could just... I think this could be a nice little surprise that people don't realize is happening.
I think that... I want to bring this up. I want to see if you feel the same way. I have a feeling the reason why they're holding Elias off of television, I think he might be with Ambrose when he comes back.
That writes itself. Just the characters, it writes itself. I don't know. I do like that he didn't play for Sioux Falls or wherever I called it because they weren't worthy. I'm glad that didn't happen.
I thought it was funny that he wrote a song for the Riot Squad.
That was great. That was great. And listen, is there any question in that backstage segment right there who the Harley Quinn of there was a torch passing at one time. There was Alexa Bliss was I get it, was the Harley Quinn thing, but that baton has been passed over to Liv Morgan.
I could go 12 rounds
because no, listen, Liv Morgan is I feel like she's more naturally like Harley in a way. You know what I mean? Like she is that, at least the character that they portray her, and she plays her very well. Right. So I don't know, man. I just think, but a great showing by, and I'm going to go back to Raw on that one though. It was a great showing by Liv and by Ember Moon, because I just thought that was. I want to keep shouting out like this younger talent to keep not that but I want to talk about the positives, especially when you see characters growing and getting better on a damn near like on a weekly basis. They're getting better now, dude. It's like right in front of our eyes. Like it's week after week they're getting better and better and better. So I don't know. That's just where I'm at right now.
I'm glad you brought that up because I mentioned this on Tuesday the other day, and it's like I feel like Raw, there's a lot of characters that are suddenly getting momentum, but with the fact that Raw doesn't present the show as Crash TV anymore, feels like, they're just slagging along to SummerSlam. It's not the case. Even for Sioux Falls, South Dakota, they seem like they're interested in the show. But hey, you can't have nice things. I just think it's all about people just being too overly critical. I was just listening to something today, and shout out to Ant, because like me and Ant sounded like the only two reasonable people on this thing I was listening to. But even me and him were saying the same thing back in the day. Right. where we were saying like Ant said perfectly. He's like, I don't understand why I get attacked if I say I could be a Seth Rollins fan and a Roman Reigns fan. He was like, I don't know why that's a controversial like thing to say. And he's absolutely right. It's not a controversial thing to say. And the unfortunate thing is that was 2 years ago, and here we are 2 years later, and it's still a controversial thing to say. And it's just because the internet bubble is stuck in like I said, like I feel like we're in a time loop where the years are starting to tick away, but because of social media and because of the way that everything is just like high school without summer vacation. And I'm speaking about adults too. It's just as bad with adults, man. Men and women older than me. Men and women younger than me. Men and women my age. It's all fucking ridiculous now. But it's funny. I want to give Anna a shout out. It's funny, a lot of the stuff that him and I were talking about back then that was really predominant in today's not only just media, not only wrestling cycle, but media itself too. It's shout out to Ann. I know he's probably listening, and it was an interesting listen. check out Ant's stuff going on right now. Rantwithant.com, Rant with Ant's podcast. He has his own podcast network where they got other good brothers and sisters taking the chance to give their platforms and their voices out there, which I think is cool. We also gave shout-outs to our boy Cade back in the day with Minor Carters. He did the same thing for us when we had our own separate
man.
Yeah,
the man.
Cade Carnage, shout out to him. Check out Ant. He's doing a lot of good stuff. I will always praise people that go out on their own sword and gamble on themselves. The guy took a chance on his own brand, and he's doing his own thing on his own terms. I think that's really, really cool. So, Ant, buddy, thanks for checking out the show each week. You keep doing good stuff, man, and we appreciate the support as well, buddy. All right. One last thing before we head out here, I do want to run down the cards really quick for Extreme Rules and also this show that's going on Saturday. In case anybody does want the New Japan show. It's going to be on Access TV, so you're not going to have Kevin Kelly and Don Callis, unfortunately, which I don't think is a bad thing for me because me love me some good old JR. I'm not gonna hide behind behind that fact because JR is the reason why I'm doing this shit in the first place. He's the reason why I fall in love with wrestling in the first place. So let's go over the card really quick for Extreme Rules. We're going to make our predictions for the show next week, ladies and gentlemen. Man, it's crazy. It doesn't feel like 3 weeks or a month since you guys been here. It really doesn't.
Dude, it
feels yesterday.
That's what Sam and I were just talking about, man. It's like, so it's July already, huh? Cool. Like, this year just has been, but that's good though. Listen, when life is so chaotic, and I'm not saying that, some of the like, bad stuff like the accident and stuff like that happened to us this year, I'm not necessarily thrilled with that stuff, but when life is so chaotic that like you're just losing days and everything, that's a good thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's why I do feel bad that I kind of blanked on like what happened on SmackDown this week, but it's just been a whole week of trying to get life in order. So that's why I'm glad I got a refresher here named Josh Lopez.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you want some like really fun, like hard-hitting wrestling stuff, check out Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali this week from 205 Live. I know everybody's talking about it on Twitter. I wouldn't say I was the originator of the 205 Live bandwagon. Maybe me and Brother Carter could take that claim. I don't know. I don't roll like that. But I'm glad everybody's checking out 205 Live because they're doing some good shit. And Jake Maverick, in my opinion, is the best authority figure in all of WWE right now.
Yeah, I like him. I like his work, man.
All right, so Extreme Rules goes like this. I mentioned earlier we have Alexa Knight's Extreme Rules match for Raw Women's title. AJ Styles and Rusev fight for the WWE title. By the way, I want to send some well wishes to Bray Wyatt, man. Got in a car accident over the weekend.
They're wicked.
That good, brother. Yeah.
They're wicked. They could change it. Sometimes I know from personal experience, man, all it takes is one bad day. And,
right.
And my bad day was that car accident, and that completely changed direction of the way my life was going. So I definitely hope for a speedy recovery. It's Christ, I'm going through the same thing right here with with my life right now. So so yeah, it sucks. It sucks anytime anybody gets hurt. But it sucks especially when it's outside the ring. It sucks even more.
Right. Good thing nobody was with them at the time as well. So that's some good news. So the Leaders of the World will take on the B team. I'm so happy for Bo and Dallas for Bo and Curtis because after the Superstar Shakeup, you never know which talents are going to fall on the wayside or not get enough attention. But these guys keep getting spotlight every single week, and I think it's pretty cool for those guys because they could have been on the chopping block after the whole mid-stretching, but they're still here. I think that's pretty cool. Carmella and Asuka for the SmackDown Women's title. Bludgeon Brothers can take on Team Hell No for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins 30-man Iron Man match for the IC title. Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley, or Bob. Jeff Hardy defending his U.S. title against Nakamura. I think you probably add some added additions, maybe KO and Strowman in a gimmick match, and I don't know, maybe Raw Commissioner Stephanie McMahon's personally appointed Constable of Raw, Baron Corbin. Hopefully I got that right.
You know what? Wait, hold on. I believe it's Stephanie McMahon's hand-picked Wait, Stephanie McMahon's. Oh shit! I had it earlier, and now I'm gonna mess it up. I was intentionally trying to remember it because of how he was correcting people. I'll get back to it. Just rewind the tape about 15 minutes in there. I had it right. Yeah, right.
By the way, I want to get you guys' thoughts on the Eric Bischoff clip I played in the beginning of the show. I think you guys are going to learn a lot from that. It's a very interesting topic for a lot what goes on in the bubble these days. It's a good listen. I played it for Adam earlier. It's really good.
Yeah, Josh, you know what? Yeah, that's fantastic. It was a good clip. I mean, that's something we've been preaching for years, though. It's important. Ratings are important, yes, but it's like singling out these. It's just so old and stale. But let me ask you a question, Josh.
Yeah, bro.
The talk about, like, just as I'm sitting here thinking, as you know, you were talking more, I'm thinking about the Elias situation that you just brought up. And here's one thing that I don't know where I'm going with Elias. Dude, he was over in Chicago.
Yes.
Like super over, right? So now when Ambrose comes back, is he going to be a babyface? Do you think, or do you think he's gonna? You think he plays baby?
Yeah,
okay.
For part about it, I have a feeling Ambrose is going to make that switch towards WrestleMania season.
Do we know how close he is to returning?
Soon. You know who else is returning soon is Jason Jordan.
Okay, so can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Could they be possibly? And I'm just thinking out loud here. And my only concern, and the only reason why I'm thinking about this is because Elias got a huge pop in Chicago, right? I mean, arguably the pop of the night.
Besides Alexa Bliss, Elias had the biggest reaction out of anybody.
You're right. And that was a cash-in moment. So you're going to get that natural pop, for a cash-in moment. But like people were waiting for Elias. It was like, now you go straight from Chicago, where he was a little more over than maybe what they thought, to you're going to put him in his hometown of Pittsburgh. At Extreme Rules.
Oh, he has to be on this show.
Now, so does he come out and do a show, and does Ambrose return and attack him mid-show? Because Pittsburgh's a big Dean Ambrose city, and that's a way that they could kick off that feud going into WrestleMania, into SummerSlam. And I'm just thinking, I know I'm fantasy booking and thinking, hey, what could they do with these people? But I don't know. I mean, because I can't. The only reason why I'm saying that, Josh, is I couldn't imagine them wanting to not have Elias on Extreme Rules in his hometown, but the big but in this is it's not like he's not going to get a pop in his hometown. You know what I mean? Right. He got a pop last time. It's going to be tenfold this time. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what is playing what, but I feel like he's been too important lately to not be on Extreme Rules, and that's the reason why I just kind of wanted to piggyback on your Ambrose theory for a second.
You think maybe Jason Jordan shows up in Pittsburgh with the Kurt Angle guys?
I thought the same thing. I thought the exact same thing.
Damn, man.
I mean, man, I don't know though. I don't think Jordan as much, but maybe.
Dude.
Well, I think it's smart to play in your hometown. I do. And knowing that you have guys on this roster from Pittsburgh, just like Chicago or Philly or Boston, or when they're in Texas and, or in Florida, or listen, when they're in Flair country, they're in Flair country. You know what I mean? So, right. So I absolutely think that I would be open to like having like two returns like that in the same night, because it does make sense with the city tie-in. Absolutely. It's the Steel City, baby. Pennsylvania's best town.
I'm going to need you to count the number of Pittsburgh references for the following show.
Graves makes. Well, you know what? We may try to go. But I think we're actually going to try and go to the show. I hope. I mean, but we have a new car paint that's staring us right in the face too, though. So it's going to be. I don't know if necessarily if we're going to be able to squeeze it out, but dude, Graves is going to be making Pittsburgh references all show long. It's at least won a match.
Right.
At least. And he should. It's a great city.
Yes, it is. I'm going to wrap this up with the New Japan stuff, and then we're going to send off you guys off in the week. I think this is going to be a pretty entertaining show for you guys to listen to after you're digesting all the events from the 4th of July yesterday. So it's cool to come on here and chat a little bit and get your minds off of things before you go back into the work, all the minutia that goes on in real life. So this Saturday, New Japan's got their new special. It's the G1 special. This is basically like their pre-opening ceremonies, if you will, for the G1 special. So G1 is basically New Japan's Olympics. So you win the tournament, you get to main event Wrestle Kingdom 13 next year. So G1 special, here we go. The USA at the Cow Palace as the legendary Eddie Guerrero defeated Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. No Way Out 2004 for anybody that's keeping score at home. All right, here we go. Chaos against Bullet Club in a 10-man tag team match. By the way, King Haku is actually wrestling on this show, which is going to be pretty funny.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Tomohiro Ishii, my favorite guy from New Japan, and Toriano is taking on Suzuki and Zack Sabre Jr. That's going to be a lot of fun. Tanahashi and Kushida against Hangman Page and Marty Scurll. That's going to be a very good match as well. Hiroki Goto against Jeff Cobb for the Never Openweight Championship. Jeff Cobb, by the way, plays Montazza, the big monster in Lucha Underground, by the way. So shout out to Jeff getting the spotlight on New Japan. I think that's pretty cool. Rematch for Dominion. We got the Young Bucks against LIJ members Sonata and Evil. We got Okada and Will Ospreay going against Naito and Bushi. That's going to be insane. Takahashi against Dragon Lee for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Jay White against Juice Robinson. That's a match I'm looking forward to a lot. I think it could be a sleeper match of the show for the U.S. title. And then the main event is Cody Rhodes against Kenny Omega for IWGP Championship. So there's going to be a lot of burners. No, my bad. Barn burners, as good old JR would say. A lot of Donnie Brooks. All the phrases we can use to explain some of these matches are going to happen on Saturday at the Cow Palace. So I'll be covering that show this weekend. ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. You can follow your boy at Twitter and Instagram at Notorious Josh. And follow Pinky Vice at Twitter at Pinky Vice.
Agitate him, please. And yeah, you know what? He told me something this week because he listened to the show. He's been listening. Guys, I totally fucking don't realize that sometimes when I'm drinking like my drink, you can hear me slurping in the background. So, I apologize to anybody out there. I've been trying to mute it today as much as possible. And I know you can hear like ice moving around in the background sometimes. But and before I toss it back to you, Josh, before we sign off, I wanted to say two quick things. Number one, it's Pittsburgh. It's the first week of July. That only means one thing. Do you know what that means? Anthrocon is here. And if you know what Anthrocon is, you know that you already know the punchline. If you're unfamiliar with Anthrocon, this might make it a little more familiar. The world's largest and most notorious furry convention has started today in Pittsburgh, if you know what a furry is. So that's happening this weekend in Pittsburgh, ladies and gentlemen, in news that I probably won't be covering. But I think my daughter, when she gets older, will, because her favorite parts of the Pride Parade was the furries. So I guess I got to get ready for that later in life. But and the other thing though that I wanted to point out, just because it's one of these things that, you know, I listen. Sometimes it's good to hear other people, and especially it helps just civility, you know. And there should be more civility in the world. This is one thing that I hope that people stop out there. And I'm only saying this just because I think that this is something we can all agree. We need to stop with, like, gender norms thinking that, like, when you go somewhere just because, like, somebody has it. Like, say, listen, I worked with the public for damn near 20 years. And I'm guilty of this, too, in the past. You know what I mean? Somebody comes in, maybe your place gives out free stickers or whatever, and you're like, oh, if it's a little girl, if it's a little boy, you instantly say, oh, here's the boy stickers, or here's the girl stickers, or, you know. I feel bad for people that work. I absolutely feel bad for people that have to work in the fast food industry just to make, you know, ends meet, because you get treated like shit all day. But, you know, they ask, like, you know, is it for a boy or is it for a girl? And I found lately, more often than not, my daughter has wanted the boys' toys, not what, like, they're offering the girls. And it's basically because she's told me the boys get the more fun toy. She's like, I don't want the girls' toy. It sucks. I want the boys' toy. It's more fun. Basically, I don't understand why boys get to have all the fun. So, with that being said, let's stop letting boys have all the fun all the time. I do appreciate that WWE is like coming out with to reference, to tie back in with them. I like that they're coming out with like a Barbie doll style of set with like the women wrestlers now. And I think that's cool because then you have the figures. Like my daughter collects the figures, and she wants to start collecting the Barbie doll style because she likes a little bit of both. Let's stop with the, my daughter likes, I don't know if she'll ever have hair again. She loves her hair being shaved, and it fits her so well. It's like so adorable. So it's one of those where let's stop with like the norms of what like people are saying. Hey, you're a little girl, so you have to have long hair, or you're a little boy, so you have to have short hair. Like, can we just start letting kids be kids and stop pushing our values on them and start teaching them? Because ultimately we want to educate them. Their values are going to figure themselves out. Let's not brainwash kids. Let's educate kids and make them to prepare them for life. That's all. That's just my, I always like to do it and I've just noticed this a lot lately just because it's been summer, it's been hot. I've been, just hearing I got a little pipsqueak around me all day. And I like to pay attention. It's one of those that if you have a kid, just, obviously I'm sure that you do the same things that we do and you support their decisions and what they, what they like to play with, not like what they don't like to play with. Instead of saying boys can't play with that or girls can't play with that, let a kid be a kid, man, and they all figure it out from there. So instill respect and intelligence and integrity. That's what you're supposed to do. That's where people are fucking up as parents. So
I'm going to end go with two pieces from Pac, some perspective, and to get you guys think about it as we head into the weekend. Everybody's at war with different things. I'm at war with my own heart sometimes. I want to grow. I want to be better. You grow, we all grow. We're made to grow. You either evolve or you disappear. And with that said, I want to thank you guys so much for checking out episode 113 of the Josh Lopez Wrestling Podcast. If you like what we're doing, give us a 4 or 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Hit us up on social media. Let us know what you like on the show, anything you want to see different on the show.
And if there's a way you can give Josh a 5 rating and me a 1 rating, because he's really the star of the show. I'm just here I'm here for you guys to laugh at, not with. So
I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. We'll be back here to preview and make our predictions for Extreme Rules. And stay classy, motherfuckers.